My name is Howard Sample, and I'm the director and founder director of Life Crafting. And I have somebody with me today, a really special lady with me today. Her name is Kathy McCommon. I've known Kathy for years, and she was a client in Life Crafting several years ago. And we had an amazing time working together, and there's some really just incredible energies and breakthroughs and awakenings occurred. It was a total joy. And anyway, I'm very pleased today to have her with me, and we're just going to go through a few questions regarding her experience of life crafting, which I think will be very useful for people who are contemplating, this journey and this giving themselves this kind of gift. So anyway, Kathy, welcome. I'm so excited you're here with me. I love being with you no matter what we do. It's just always fun.
Well,
It's always great.
I I have to say, Howard, that one of the blessings that came out of life crafting is our friendship. So
Yes,
uh,
yes, and
that was a blessing bonus.
yeah, we actually shared some handwritten letters with fountain pen too.
That's right.
Yeah, we had that. Yeah. So my first question for you, and I'm sure you understand these questions are all designed to be most helpful to people who are looking at this and they're saying, well, this is where I am in my life and this is where I want to be, and how can I get there? So the first question, what was your situation just before discovering life crafting? And along with that, what was would you say was your biggest frustration and greatest need that you had?
Well, first of all, I was on a payment model of exchanging time for money,
Hmm.
which, taking life crafting helped me make a distinction as to how I wanted to do that. I was also geographically limited as to who my clients could be,
Oh, okay.
and I was struggling with acquiring clients, steady income, and I really didn't have a clue about business systems.
Hmm.
So that was kind of my situation.
Okay.
My biggest frustration and greatest need, well, that would probably, for me, was not knowing how to create a uniquely me program and bring all my training under one umbrella. I just didn't have a clue how to do that.
Yeah, I do remember you were sort of generic. You were somewhat generic in your thinking about the products or services that you had, and
Mhm.
that would be. So looking through a very traditional kind of lens with regard to that. My next question is, what did you see that life crafting offered that made you feel it could provide the missing ingredients?
Well, let's see. First of all, I think I would address what my greatest need was at the time. But I kind of chuckle at that because I think that I think you, Howard, might say that teaching me business communication skills was what I really needed. But but mine was too. I had to reach a broader clientele, and I had to set up systems to do it.
Yeah.
And so at the time, that was my greatest need.
Okay, and you saw that life crafting could contribute in that area.
Right,
It's
right.
it's fascinating, Kathy. I want to share with you that over the years, I mean, I've been doing this so many years, and it sort of breaks down when you see patterns over a long time, and it sort of breaks down into two large groups of people: the people who are, for lack of a better term, very left-brained, very practical, down to earth, see life and usually in very defined, concrete, measurable ways that they're not particularly connected in emotionally or spiritually or intuitive or creative. And they're trying to solve all their problems within that paradigm, within that paradigm that they've been given, those beliefs. And in life crafting, invariably they break out of that mold and they start to recognize, oh my God, there is another universe out there, and they start to stick their toe into that universe and they start to make discoveries. And little by little, they expand into that bigger world without, of course, losing the practical skill sets that they have. And then the other group is, the flip flop, which is the highly creative, artistic, spiritually based. You could call them the woo woo crowd if you want to. And
Okay, I accept.
I just love them. I love them because, and similar, I wouldn't say you were real extreme on that end because you were already doing business, but again, they are more prone to seat of the pants and, I feel this, I feel that, let's go here, let's go there, a new idea every day, etc. And
Mhm,
so life crafting for them was, respond in sort of the opposite kind of way, bringing them back into the concrete, pragmatic, structured, organized, methodical,
mhm,
predictable, achievable, kind of tangible, measurable results.
mhm,
And it's fascinating to me how, you know, both groups are just coming back and kind of in the middle, in the center, Uh,
mm,
but I know looking back on an old years, I mean, everybody has all the parts already in them. They're just, oh yeah, there's that part. Oh yeah, there's that part, and so
mhm,
I'm just sort of reminding them, like sort of tapping them on the shoulder. Hey, remember that? Remember that kind of thing. So in
mhm,
one way of looking at it. What
mhm.
what were the chief highlights of your life crafting experience that felt most important looking back on it?
I guess that I think that the first thing that before I answer that question, I think that I want to, I'd like to address what I saw that crafting offered
Right, right,
and how it could provide these missing ingredients.
right. Uh-huh.
Um, First of all, I interviewed 5 other companies before I chose Life Crafting.
Okay.
And I chose life crafting for 2 main reasons. Um, I operate in what is known as the quantum field, and I needed someone who had set their feet to live their life in this higher vibrational field and embrace it on a daily basis. Someone who I could communicate in a language that I was familiar with, which Howard fulfilled that. The second reason was that the supreme law of the universe is free will. And I'm just very adamant about that. And I knew that you, Howard, understood the importance of this. So whatever I created inside of life crafting would be wholly my creation. You would be a guide, but you would not be putting, because of the law of free will, and you're a proponent of that, you would not be putting your free will into my business.
Mhm.
You would just be directing, which that
Guiding,
was very
guiding,
important. I didn't see that in the other companies I interviewed.
guiding you to find
But
your deepest truth. Yeah.
so what were the chief highlights in my life crafting experience when
Uh-huh.
I look back on
Yeah.
it? Um, Well, there's a module in life crafting, and I don't remember what number it is. I think it was maybe module 4.
Mhm.
And when you completed it, and if you truly applied yourself, you could see yourself through different lenses that you'd never had um, a field or an opportunity to see. And in this module, there's a deep exploration of your gifts using a unique method that you, Howard, came up with, which always works. If you dive into it, truly let yourself swim in the exercise. And it was this module where I learned how to be coached. Now, even though I'm a health coach, it wasn't until I did that module that I understood really what a coach was, watching you, Howard, coach me through that particular module.
Okay.
So I know that might be a little bit of an odd takeaway, but that module 4, which I think it was module 4, was just very life changing for me. And I think it will be for anyone who takes life crafting.
You're referring to the module that is the deep dive into your life purpose and unique genius, right? That's
Yeah.
actually module 2, actually module.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, module 3 is the one where the market niche, where you drill down deep into the market niche, and module 4 is the one where you craft your actual business, your actual ideal business. So yeah,
Oh, it's
easy
been
to lose
10
track
years.
of
How
them.
I
I
don't
know, I
remember.
know, I know. It's easy to lose track of the numbers, but yeah, well, it's my favorite module also because as I guide people through it, I'm literally deep diving with them down to
Mhm.
the center of their being, and I'm seeing their divine nature, which is just so moving, just so
Well,
touching.
Howard, that is your gift. I'm
Thank
one of many, but that particular ability to do that is really makes life crafting magical.
thank you. Thank you. That was the one of the gifts that, if you remember the story from the 1970s, when I went to the parties, I didn't really know anything. And I went to these parties and people would say to me, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And I would say, oh, that's interesting. And then I would ask them, you know, a series of very innocent, what seemed to be,
Mhm.
very innocent questions. And then 30 minutes later, all the color in their face changed and everything just shifted and they
Mhm.
came alive. And they said to me, what did you do? How did you do that? And I said, I have no idea whatsoever. So that was the beginning stages, of that story.
Wow.
It happened too many times. He said, I'm sorry, I can't ignore this. I can't
Mhm.
ignore this anymore. There's too many
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next question, Kathy, is what were the biggest takeaways from the life crafting program that have remained with you that were most significant in altering your life and business trajectory? In other words, what were the takeaways that had the most impact going forward?
Well, there was a lot of things that impacted my life by taking life crafting. But when I think about it, the one thing that always stands out, and I'll never forget you saying to me in one of our coaching calls, find a way to do what you do without having to physically touch your clients. And I remember thinking, I have absolutely no idea how to do that. I don't even know if it can be done.
Right, right, right.
I could provide quite interesting stories of how I went about perfecting my technique, but in 2017, I found a way to do it. And I went totally virtual in 2018. And by 2020, I had all my systems in place where, other people, when 2020 came and they had to shuffle around to move their business virtual, because of my life crafting experience, I was already there because I wanted a more global clientele. That was one of the driving forces on that. So I think that was the thing that really sticks out in mind. There were tons of things, Howard, but that really stood out.
Well, one reflection that I have on that was that I immediately recognized, but from a few different sources, that you had several very esoteric, I'll just call them very esoteric level gifts that are uncommon enough to where they don't get measured in any normal sort of assessment, of skills or even any normal assessment of genius that we normally do. Now, at the beginning, those were far out in Never Never Land that we didn't quite pull them in fully
Mm.
at the beginning, but I knew they were there. I knew they were there, and I figured at some point in time, you're going to reach out, reach out into that alternate dimension where they live and, pull them in kind of thing. I knew that would eventually happen. And then needless to say,
Yeah.
you shared with me several years later, oh, by the way, I, did this or did that, or I moved this, I brought this in. And so I realized, okay, that was the next evolution, the next stage,
Yeah.
the next evolution. You know what?
Well, Howard, it was your belief in me, being able to do that, that propelled me forward with the vision. I had no idea how it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
But it did, and I would never have allowed myself or thought that I could even begin to do my business totally virtual, but that's the way my business is now.
I think that a key turning point there was bringing these esoteric healing methodologies and principles, having them come in and having a real concrete, measurable impact for people.
Mhm.
And that's always, it's always the ultimate thing. The proof is in the pudding. So if you
Sure.
wind up making good pudding, people don't really care how you made it or where you got the ingredients from. If you went to
Mhm.
Tibet to get the ingredients for the pudding, then they're saying, well, if you really want to go there to get the ingredients, well, okay. They just want the pudding, that's all they care about.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that,
I
what it comes down to. Anyway, my next question pertains to astrology, and I'm
Mhm,
curious to know how you see that the way that worked in life thing, because we started with it, of course, at the beginning, but it
right.
also was woven. I know it was woven into the fabric of all that we did as
Mm,
we went forward. And So I think it's a useful question because people who meet me or get to know me, they usually they find out about astrology pretty soon,
mhm,
and they will say, "Oh, well, he's astrologer, so he can do this." But what's harder to recognize, what's more difficult to see, is that weaving dimension, like of how it actually weaves together with the fabric of all the other
mm.
systems. Maybe you could say something about that.
Well, I've always been fascinated with astrology. In fact, when I was in my teens, I wanted to be an astrologist. And so when I was interviewing you for the life crafting program, and you told me that astrology would be part of the program, that really drew me to life crafting because I know the power of that. So having my personal astrological planetary alignment to give me insight around my life and business was like a hidden piece of gold in
Yeah.
the life crafting program.
Okay.
And it really was like a roadmap because you would do the planetary alignment a year out.
Right.
And then I would indicate on my personal calendar some things that were coming up in the astrological aspect. And it was so helpful because I could understand how I was feeling. I could understand why certain people were being brought into my life and certain events were happening.
Mhm.
um, it really took, as I said, it is, to me, it's the hidden piece of gold in the life crafting program.
It brings a metaphysical universal
Mhm,
awareness into the practical dimension so that they're combined. What I like about it is transits, aspects allow you to
mhm,
see time as a landscape, and the way
mm,
most people look at the physical as a landscape, we use time as a landscape. So we can then
mhm,
project or integrate the meaning spiritually, the meaning of time into what person is doing in their business or their life, and merge the two together so they inform each other. They affect each other and inform each other in a meaningful way. And that's the
mhm.
reason why I love that synergy, that kind of magic and synergy of that blending, which of course you never know what it's ever going to be. You just never know.
No.
It's always,
Always a surprise.
yeah, you just never know. What do you feel you can now be, do, or have as a result of the life drifting program that you know would probably not be possible without it, that made us that significant pivotal change for you?
Well, there's two aspects that I wanted, that I came out of it with. One, I didn't realize that my business communication was so poor,
Uh-huh.
and, I can own that.
Yeah,
And, um, I
yeah.
cannot begin to express my gratitude of your constant, relentless pursuit of me, raising the bar in my business communication.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
so grateful for. I wasn't I found it terribly annoying when it was going on. But now I find it to be invaluable, and I can identify when other people have areas like that they're struggling in, and I can access the coaching that I received from you and the patience and the firmness and bring it into my coaching practice when I find my own clients are struggling with communication. Then the next aspect that really stands out for me, because it was an area that I did not understand at any level, and that was the systems education that I received through life crafting. Um, there is a system that there are systems that have to be set up when you have a business. And if you don't have any idea of the technology or how to go about it or how important certain aspects of it are, your business will not succeed.
Right.
And life crafting, by going through that program and then continuing to work with you for a number of years, the systems education has been priceless for me.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you so much. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but I originally acquired that perspective and that methodology from Michael Gerber. So that's where that, if you trace it back,
Hmm.
mid 1980s, and
Hmm.
I was fortunate. I was blessed to get to know him and get to be with him and learn with him. And there is no greater master of systems than Michael Gerber. And being a mathematician, I naturally gravitated to systems. I just love them, right? So it was like almost like this separate pet project of like just to enjoy, the art and the science of creating them. And then, of course, bringing them to clients who didn't have them was, equally rewarding because when the system does the work, then
Hmm.
you can just basically just be on the outside, press the button, and let the system do the work. You don't really need to be involved in reinventing the wheel, every time. So
Hmm.
that's really cool. And I have just had just so much fun watching you grow and watching you expand and watching you take on, level after level after level, just progressively. And then, even in later years, the crypto and getting started with that and having you see you kind of do that on your own with your family was rewarding also to see you sort of embrace that. So being able to move ahead with that. So just beautiful, fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I came in as a baby, and you helped me get all grown up.
Thank you. Thank you. Was there anything that I mean, you can well imagine, I guess just using your imagination, you could well appreciate, people today, many years, of course, after you did it, but given the chaos that exists in the world today and the incredible upheaval going on so many levels with so many people's lives, even more people than ever going through massive transitions and massive re-evaluations and rethinking and reinventing and on all levels, spiritually, emotionally, etc. And even throwing in the red pill part. So what I'm wondering is, do you have any thoughts of something that you might say that you want to say to someone today who's faced with that daunting, that daunting task of, reinventing themselves to be who they really are in their heart and soul, authentically, living authentically, and how, life crafting will, literally just embrace them and cuddle them and love them and guide them and, help them move on that path, on that authentic journey of, being themselves and being, bringing that unique value in the world, as that authentic, from that authentic place. You have any thoughts, anything you could say about that?
Well, I personally believe that humanity is on an evolutionary upgrade,
Yeah,
and
a big one. Yeah.
a very large one. And it's not as hard now to access your gifts and to express why you're here on this earth. But it's very important to find a place, a home where the someone can direct you who's already gone before you,
Mm.
who already kind of knows what the path looks like and what you need to do in order to be fully expressed. That there are lots of people offering that. I just have my experience with life crafting, which I think is a perfect nest for someone to go and get all grown up in.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, to learn their gifts.
It's a beautiful way to say it. I love it. It's a real beautiful way to say it. But and there's a quality in the way you describe that, which is so wonderful because it's get all grown up, but never losing the childlike innocence. So like keeping that
Mhm,
childlike innocence forever, but being
mhm,
all grown up in terms of how you can direct that and how you can direct that and be that and
mhm,
celebrate that in the world while having your heart be
mhm.
so open
I
and accessible. And I think that's what's attractive. That is what people today, are attracted to. They what's that? There's a saying about it. They won't care about what you know until they know how
how
much
much
you
you
care.
care.
Yeah,
Mhm,
exactly. So it's a good saying there with that.
mhm.
And
Well, I will tell that I will say in life crafting, there was never any doubt in my mind how much you cared. Sometimes I think you cared more about my progress than I did, because I would just become so frustrated. I,
right,
couldn't see past where I was at,
yeah,
and I needed your guidance to and patience and firmness to move me, to the next level, which I got that through life crafting.
yeah. Thank you so much. This has been very good conversation and very rewarding. And I think, and I'm confident it's going to be valuable for people to tune in to this conversation, both as far as our information and the energy of our exchange. So thank you so much. Thank you
You
so much.
are so welcome. You are so
Yeah.
welcome.